Bloomberg has a YouTube video, an article titled Globalization is Fracturing, So What Comes Next? Where in the video, just a surface level review of the video, they talk about how countries are playing double agents between East and West, Russia versus Europe, China versus America, and how some countries are caught in the middle. And so they're in bed with both sides. Some are taking advantage of the situation, some are caught with their pants down. And I think that this is one issue of globalization. Growing up in this era, we've learned how globalization helps the economy when it works great. But right now we're seeing how some flaws in the system are causing problems throughout the world. Globalization on paper is a great system of maximizing the efficiency of a country, a state, a city. A farmer, if he makes avocados really well, and you live in a cold country that doesn't make avocados all that well, don't try to make avocados. Do what your country does best. Do what your region does best. Buy avocados from the other country, and everybody's maximizing what they do best. They don't even worry about their weaknesses. They just double down on their strengths. Economics 101, comparative advantage. If there's a country A that does something better than country B, let that country A do that thing while country B does something else, something that they are skilled at, have more strength in. Comparative advantage. If you have a farm that grows something better than farm B, let farm A grow that one thing, and farm B, don't even compete with them. Grow the one thing where you have the strength in. Comparative advantage. If you have a factory that makes something better than another factory, let them make that thing. Comparative advantage. If you have a brother that does something better, don't try to look up to that brother to do what he's doing. Do your own thing. Find your strengths and do it. Now, in globalization, that's exactly what's going on. You have a country like China that manufactures better, where in America, the price of manufacturing has gone through the roof, so it makes sense to do it overseas. But now, does it really make sense? One of the things about the farming example is if that you get a farmer that, how to phrase it? Let's say they're narcissistic. Let's say they're evil. Let's say that they have an ulterior motive where once they get the upper hand, that they will exploit their position of power, and there's nothing you can do because you are reliant on them to make a certain product. Now, I've been here before. Personally, I have actually been here where I've had to do business with somebody that I don't want to do business with, but because they hold a geographical area that I lived in, that I had to do business with that person. Otherwise, I had to outsource my business somewhere else to a point where it wasn't feasible. I was locked into doing business with this person that took advantage of a lot of situations. Can't go into depth about it because it's currently going on right now. But the same example is going on when it comes to America doing business with countries that they don't really want to do business with because they're beginning to start exploiting things that don't behoove. They don't benefit the parties not involved. So we have to talk about the issues of globalization and comparative advantage, or mature comparative advantage, and maybe even late stage comparative advantage. I like to use the analogy of drag racing when it comes to the current economy. Our current system, our current drag racing car, funny car, whatever you want to call it, is running very efficient. It's running faster and faster and faster, but it has mechanical issues, connecting rods, crankshaft, fuel, suspension, and we need to get these under wrap. We need to slow this car down to fix the problem. You as a consumer, it doesn't make sense for you to grow your own groceries. Go to the supermarket, buy tomatoes, lettuce, make yourself a sandwich. You get the ham, you get the meat, you get the bread. Hey, everything's hunky-dory. If you were to start producing your own produce and you were to make a little economy, you and your neighborhood, you would definitely be taking money away from the American economy or your local economy, and that wouldn't be good, or would it? The victim of this little economy that you create would be the farms, your local farmers that are producing stuff. Not your local farmers, even the farmers that are going to the supermarkets, the suppliers who are supplying the produce. What we're trying to say is that if you make your own little economy and you ruin or you take away money from the overall economy, yes, they're going to be victims in this situation. But what you're doing is you're taking away money and power from the global situation, and that's what needs to happen when we're talking about China. It's going to be I don't even know if it would be considered a growing pain. It will be painful to pull away the convenient way of doing business because they produce whatever the heck they produce in such a convenient way, convenient for them, convenient for us. So if we stop that pipeline, then it's going to be painful for everybody. But if we keep the pipeline going and they are able to grow powerful enough, then they dictate what goes on. This is the problem with globalization, and this is the problem with the farmer down the street or the guy you're doing business with that has an ulterior motive instead of just doing business with you. He gets powerful enough, he knows he has monopoly, and then he goes, screw it, he exploits things that you don't really agree with. There are countries that are growing because of this globalization, and they're just biding their time. They're gaining more power. They're letting the population of the Western countries become comfortable with what's going on. And the more comfortable they become, the more reliant they become on other people other than themselves, then they're locked into a situation. This is the problem with globalization. This is the problem with having somebody else do something for you. Now, I get it. You know, here you are. You're supposed to make your own clothes and sew your own clothes. You don't know how to do that. This is a skill that's been lost. Might it behoove you to learn some skills that you should have learned in the past? No. According to a university and your teachers right now, no. Double down on the skill, your strengths. But maybe it's a good idea right now to, because a lot of the technology or a lot of the skills that your parents had to learn from generation to generation, you can learn from YouTube. You can learn from forums. So we, in this stage of the world, we have an advantage where we can learn outdated skills relatively easy, and it might behoove you. For example, there's somebody I know who is getting the equipment together to create his own ammunition. Now, instead of him learning how to do it because he just simply doesn't have the time, all he's doing right now is he's getting the machinery and the educational material together, not to learn right now because he doesn't have the time, but to learn when he does need to know how to do it. I'm going to remake this video and talk about globalization and how it's hurting us and how it might behoove us to learn skills in school that have been lost over the years so that we can protect our humanity, protect our culture, protect our local neighborhood, because that's how things need to go. Less globalization, more smaller economies, until we can figure things out and learn how to deal with ulterior motives.